Well, hello. If you're a regular here, then you'll know that this is an unexpected video, but something unexpected, well, unexpected-ish has happened. And it might affect you too. So if you're a handmade business and you sell to the US, you might want to watch on. Yeah, I'm talking about the de minimis exemption and how it's going away. Well, I guess I'm making a coffee and craft video this week after all. And before we go any further, I do just want to quickly say this is called the Coffee and Craft Chat, which means I chat. So if you're looking for a nice pithy to the point video about the de minimis exemption, this isn't it. Strap yourselves in for a waffle. If that's not for you, fair enough, but please don't moan at me in the comments. I am not in the mood. Hello. Okay, for those who aren't a regular here, my name's Kim. This is the Coffee and Craft Chat, where I usually drink coffee. I am drinking coffee. I usually craft. I'm not crafting today. It's not a crafting day. This is a sad day. And we chat about all things to do with running a handmade business, which is why I'm dropping everything to talk about this, because it's important. And I nearly did last week. In fact, the video that I put up yesterday, which ended up being about getting started with your first vlog, that was going to be about this, but I didn't want to be reactive. I can't see. Excuse me, new reading glasses. I haven't quite got used to when I should be wearing them and when I shouldn't. Okay, so where to start? Well, last week, the US government announced that it was going to scrap the de minimis exemption globally for all small packages coming into the US, regardless of which country you're from, whether or not a tariff agreement had already, been set up and was in place. It was a concern that I've had for some time, but I didn't think it was going to happen yet. I had hoped it wouldn't happen at all. So, in short, tariffs are a customs fee, essentially, so that when people in the US are buying things from, say, the UK or elsewhere, they will pay a customs fee on those products when it goes into the US. Now, there has been an exemption. So for I think it's $800, what the US government has decided to do is just get rid of the de minimis exemption entirely. So now everything coming into the US is going to be subject to a customs fee. So even if you sell something as simple as one sticker, that's going to be subject to a customs fee. And that was what caused my wobble last week, because that's going to change buyer behaviour. That's the whole point of them. The whole point of them is to try and reduce the amount of money leaving a country, so that the idea being that it is spent within the country. The whole purpose is to generate more money for the country and change buyer behaviour. Even before these changes came in, I've noticed a change in buyer behaviour this year from my US customers, simply from there being tariffs, and of course they have their own cost of living happening in the US. So initially I had thought, right, all of my sales going into the US are now going to incur a tariff of 10% because I'm in the UK and that's what our tariff agreement has been set at. And that caused me to have a little bit of a wobble. And then earlier this week I remembered that I give subscribers of my mailing list a 10% discount. So it seemed like a natural thing to just promote that to my US customers and say, hey, yes, it's true you will incur a 10% customs fee, but if you join my mailing list, you get 10% off. And then it got worse. It got worse yesterday. Now, I had heard talk of a flat fee instead of the customs fee as well, but I hadn't found anything solid about it, and I probably should have looked more into it, but I didn't. And it wasn't until a fellow business owner, thanks Sherelle for the heads up, contacted me to ask me for my thoughts. And I was like, I don't think it's a problem. And then I looked into it and I was like, no, it's a problem. It's a big, big problem. I was going to say in short, but waffling is my thing. So I am going to try and keep it brief-ish. I'll do my best, but no promises. Essentially, and I'm getting all of my information, by the way, from the White House website, because I think when it comes to things like this, you have to follow the source of the information. So I did go and have a look at the Etsy forums because I wanted to see what Etsy's official line was. Currently, at the time of filming, their official line is, which to be fair, I don't blame them for that because nobody does. I'll get back to Etsy in a minute. But everything that I have found has been people going to some degree. So you follow the source of the information, and the source of the information is the White House, so we start there. And I do recommend that if you want to go and find out more, that you also go and read this. I will warn you now, the press release is very dry to read, so it's not, get yourself a cup of something and settle yourself in, because it's going to take a couple of reads of some paragraphs for the information to sink in, or certainly it did for me. But essentially, from what I can make out, if you purchase something from a country outside of the US as a US customer, yes, you will incur a tariff based on the percentage that they've set it at from country to country. In the UK, that's 10%. However, this is where it starts to get a bit confusing. For example, I send things out via Royal Mail. When the transfer happens from Royal Mail to USPS, they may work out the customs fee based on the tariff of the country of origin, or they might set a flat fee. This is where the flat fee comes in. And that flat fee also depends on the country. Now, if the country's tariff is at 16% or less, which ours here in the UK is, that flat fee is $80, but it can be more. Again, this is broken down on that press release, so go and have a look at that. But what I could not understand from that press release is which one they're going to choose and how they're going to choose which one. And this is going to happen for the next 6 months. So this is going into effect, I think it's from the 29th of August, certainly from the end of August, for the next 6 months, which conveniently covers Christmas and the usually busy Q4, which is usually when a lot of small businesses such as ours make a lot of our revenue. So awesome. That's grand. Most sane people are not going to want to sell to a country where there's no guarantee that they're not going to be charged an extortionate flat fee. So if I sell something for £10, really, when I sell that to the US, that US customer should pay a 10% tariff on that, not a flat fee of $80. And I can't guarantee that they won't be charged that, because currently, at the time of filming, it's just been said that they might do that. They could do that. They've given no other information, certainly not that I can find. And bearing in mind we're in August now, at the start of August, so we have mere weeks before this kicks in. So what do we do? Because a lot of us have US customers, and the question then becomes, do we still sell to the US or not? Well, I'm not here to tell you what to do. I can't. All I can tell you is what I've done for myself. This is where I can wear my glasses. Okay, this is going to get annoying because I need my glasses to look at my notes, but I need to take them off to look at you. Okay, so first off, can't do that. You're going to need to work out exactly what percentage of your customer base is from America, if you don't know already. So for my part, it used to be about 50-50. But as I say, this has been happening for some time, and it's something that I haven't really spoken about on this channel because I didn't want to be seen as being doom and gloomy or reactive or just overly negative. I have been trying slowly but surely over this past year, or at least certainly since November last year, when the election happened and I realised ET was getting in again. I thought, there may be trouble. So I have been trying to focus more on my UK customers, and I haven't said that out loud because, again, I wasn't sure, it wasn't all in my head, and I certainly didn't know what was going to happen. It has hurt that I have also lost my customers from the EU. That actually started with Brexit, and then again more recently with the GPSR rules as well. So I lost my European customer base, and that hurt. So the first thing that I personally did was I went in to have a look at exactly what percentage of my customers were from the US. And I've only done this year because I think that things have changed so much and so quickly over the last few years that this year, this time frame, would give me the most accurate information. And this is what I found. Overall, 33% of my total sales came from the US and 67% came from the UK. 35% of my website sales came from the US and 31% of my Etsy sales came from the US and the rest were the UK. So the vast majority of my sales are from the UK. I have managed to pivot somewhat. If you're a regular here, you'll know that this past year my time spent on my business has halved, and that really did slow down progress. But at least I've managed to buffer myself a little bit by doing that. However, 33% of my total sales, that's not a tiny chunk either. And I know it sounds like I'm talking as if I'm already losing my US customers, and here's why. Because of that flat fee, unless something happens in the next few weeks where we can be given some kind of reassurance that our customers are going to get charged fairly, I, like a lot of other sellers, are simply going to have to turn off our sales to the US completely, because it's not worth the stress and the hassle that it will bring. And this brings me back to Etsy. I'm going to end on this. Etsy, I think the rumours are, there's nothing to back this up, but they did this for sales from the UK to the EU following Brexit. So I imagine that they will do something similar in this case. If you're selling from the UK to the EU customers will pay the customs fee on Etsy, and that way it should make it through the border without difficulty, which sounds amazing. To be fair, it sounds really, really good, except this was back when I was selling to the EU, and I can remember the sales that made me knock it on the head. There was a week where I sent 2 sales to the EU on the same day, one to Germany and one to the Netherlands. The one that went to Germany got there fine, cleared, sailed through customs, no problem. The one that went to the Netherlands, it took almost a month to get there when it should have taken days, and my customer was charged the customs fee a second time. That was despite Etsy taking it on, that was despite doing all of the things right. Now, I'm not saying that's the case across board, that just could have been teething problems at the early stages. Luckily, my Dutch customer was bloody lovely about it, but she didn't need to be, and a lot of people wouldn't be. So that was when I decided to stop selling to the EU, and I was gutted. And then, of course, when I was thinking about perhaps starting again, that's when the GSPR rules came in, and I was like, go! And now this. Hopefully, for the regulars now, when you saw that I made a video a few months ago of like, will I still be in business in a year's time? I wasn't being clickbaity about that. I have been paying attention, and that has been a genuine concern of mine for some time. So yes, even if Etsy do take this on and they start charging the US customers the custom fee, I don't trust US customs not to charge my customers a second time, or even just delay the packages. I just don't. I've been there before, I've done it, it doesn't always work. So I think I'm going to make another video on this when we know more, but for now, what I personally am going to do, I think, is to shut sales to the US towards the end of August. I cannot take any chances with this, so it might be that I just close my doors to the US from here on in, at least until things get better and I get some reassurances, which seem unlikely at this point. But if you are in the same boat and you're thinking, I think this is going to destroy my business, you need to go and have a look and see how much of your business is coming from the US first. So know exactly what percentage is coming from the US and what's coming from your country, be that the UK or elsewhere. And then you have a decision to make as to whether you're going to risk it. All I will say is that if you do want to keep sales open, communicate with your customers. Make sure that they are aware that this is not a fee that you're charging. Make sure that they're aware that this is not a fee that you're paying, because you would be surprised how many people still think that tariffs are paid by the seller. So I would love to hear from you. If this impacts you, let me know. If we'll have a pity party together. Oh, and the question, will I still be in business a year from now? Hopefully you can understand when I say, I really don't know.